Welcome at BMS Microscopes. We all have microscopes that were bought ancient times ago with the tungsten light bulb in there. And nowadays tungsten of course is not being supplied anymore. We got alternatives that are much better, LED versions, LED light bulbs as you can call them. If you have a microscope with a tungsten light bulb, you don't have to throw it away and buy new microscopes. Why not just wait till one of the light bulbs breaks down and you can easily replace it by an LED light bulb. Advantages of LED is of course it's less energy consuming, the heat production is less, and the lifetime of the LED light bulbs is much longer than that of the standard tungsten light bulb. For the 100 FL, it's quite simple. You remove the lighthouse, unscrew it, just like that. Take the light bulb out. It's with a bayonet fitting. Take the LED light bulb that is almost the same as the one that was in there. It's the same fitting. Place it in there. Put back the light housing, screw it back on. And you got now an LED microscope. Welcome at BMS Microscopes. Today I would like to show you how to remove an eyepiece and put another eyepiece in there. That might be the case if you want to do some measurements, you want to change the standard eyepiece for one with a built-in reticule. All our BMS microscopes have eyepieces that are secured in the tube. So you can't just remove them, you have to do something to get them out. It's quite simple. Underneath the tube you will find a little screw. Most of the time it's an Allen screw. It's a tiny screw, 0.9 millimeters Allen key will undo the screw. Just place the Allen key, just unscrew it just a little bit, so the eyepiece comes out of the tube. Place the one in there with a built-in reticule. Secure the screw again. And now you can use it with the built-in reticule. Welcome at BMS Microscopes. Small maintenance on a microscope. It's easy to do, but you need to take care for a few things. Today I'm going to show you how to put new grease on the moving parts of the cores in the fine focusing of a BMS 100 FL. I take this microscope because it's one of our most sold microscopes throughout Europe, but also a pretty straightforward microscope. It has segregated cores and fine focusing. For coaxial microscopes it's a complete different story. This is strictly for the 100 FL. Before you start, make sure that the microscope is disconnected from the mains. You got some tools here. You need at least screwdrivers. We got a bended screwdriver. I'll show you later on how useful that can be. Before you start, the microscope as it is right now is completely functioning. The only thing is you need to have new grease in between the moving parts. What I normally do, I make a recording, a few photos of the situation of the stage in comparison to the stand of the microscope, to make sure those distances will be placed back after we put the microscope back in one part again. So what I will do, I'll make a picture of this gap here. show it to you. It's the gap between the stage and the stand. I make a picture from the situation of the stand and the microscope stage, and of the base towards the stand, the microscope. That is this situation here. In this way it's easier to place everything back again after we've done the complete procedure and put the microscope back in one part again. First we have to do is remove the bottom plate. There are 4 screws here that need to be undone. I would advise you to do this in a quiet surrounding, so make sure that nobody can disturb you, because in the first, if you do this for the first time, it needs a bit of attention. You need to know exactly what you're doing. Take your time, don't get rushed. And if people disturb you while you're doing it, of course, then it's easy to make mistakes. Bottom plate. You look inside the microscope now. You will see the wiring. Depends on of course, the microscope that you have there. What's very important is to see if there is an earth connected cable. Make sure you have to undo that, but you have to place that connection exactly back on the same place again. Make sure you make a note of that also. If you're doubting it, make pictures all the way. It's always better to have pictures made so you can have a look back again. What you see also is that those screws are 4 screws there that hold the bottom plate to the stand of the microscope. We're going to undo that now. We're not going to touch the wiring other than the disconnecting of the earth wire. Bottom plate. Stand. Now we got here, you can see this part here, which is the fine focusing, and inside there is the coarse focusing. Now what we need to do is take this block away from this part here, but you can see the stage can't pass the coarse focusing. So what you're going to do is remove the stage. There are 2 screws here that hold the stage to the stand. We're going to undo them as well. You see now, if you disconnect it, of course, by placing it back, you need to line it again. Otherwise the stage might be crooked, and then of course you get shades in your slide. Now we can completely segregate the fine focusing part from the stand of the microscope. And in here you will see also the slide protection. That's this screw here. You can see the moment that this comes up too high, the stage comes up too close to the objectives. This little screw here makes sure that that movement is stopped and you can't go further and therefore the slide is protected and your objectives are protected, of course. We're not going to touch the real moving parts. The only thing we need to do is put new grease on here and new grease inside the fine focusing. And to get there, we need to remove this lid. It's held by two screws. What you need to do is keep your thumb on it, because underneath there's a little spring, and you don't want to have it jumped away just like that. It's not a real heavy spring, but it's just to make sure that everything stays more or less in place before you take it apart. See, here's the spring, and you see as well that in the lid there's a little cavity that holds the spring in its place. So by moving it, by putting it back, you can do it only one way. This can be taken apart just like that. It's a dovetail construction, and these are all the parts. These surfaces here that need to be re-greased, as to say. Inside here you can see also the construction of how the fine focusing is working. It's a very clever construction. Have a look. If you just hold it like this, you can see that there's a little lever here that is moved by the movement of the axis, and it's just a tiny movement to have the fine focusing done. It's really clever construction. It's very simple, but very, very effective. So what I normally do is take a piece of cloth, a bit of decreasing agent, something mild, to take the old grease off, and then with some new grease, and that can be basically you can use any grease that is acid-free and it's not running at room temperature, because you can know, you will definitely know if you put some running grease in there and you use it with, in the summertime, you will have a greasy microscope. You don't want that either. And it's just a tiny little bit you need, because what you can do is with you open this, you just can put a little bit, just a tiny little bit, you can just re-grease it just like that. Not too much, because the moment you put it back together again, it will be divided over the surface just by moving the movable parts. Just a tiny little bit. Same here. Place it back, you move it up and down a little bit, and everything that is too much, you will see it here on the top. Just remove it a little bit. Put back this lid. Hold it with your hand just like that. Some screws. Here again. That's it. Stage back on. So the stage is screwed back on, but don't tighten it, because what you have to do is you have to line it again to see if everything is back in its place. So what we first going to do, before we tighten everything, we first put everything back to make sure that we can do the last bit is the lining of the stage and the stand. Keep it just like that, so you can easily put back the stand again on its place. Mind the place of the earthed thread. The cable should go back in its place where it came out of, because that's of course part of the security as well, of your electrical security of the microscope. We place back all the 4 screws, and then we go to the next part of lining. The 4 screws are back on their place. The threaded cable is back on its place. It's not tightened yet, because I want to check everything is the way it's supposed to be. Double check that with my pictures earlier made. Yeah, that doesn't look too bad. So I can actually tighten those 4 screws. Have a look at the stage. Look at the picture again to see if the gap is similar to the one that was there before we took it apart. It's not too bad either. I can visually test it also to see if it's all in line with the microscope. This looks good also. What I'm going to do now is to tighten the stage, and therefore I need this bended screwdriver. It's easy because with a normal screwdriver you can't reach it here because it's too long. And with this one you can easily tighten the screws here by means of this wrench, this bended wrench. Place back the bottom plate. Last bit will come in a minute. We're going to turn on the electricity and look through the microscope to see if we have an even illuminated field. If there's no shades or you see other disturbances in the illumination. Light is still working, that's a good sign. Any shades. I see an even illuminated field. This feels good. That feels as new again. I think job is done. Welcome at BMS Microscopes. As you all know, working with a microscope is fun. But sometimes the fun gets a little bit spoiled by minor hiccups. One of them is, for instance, you have something in focus, you look at the slide, and without touching the microscope, you find the focusing is disappearing. Slowly, it's getting vaguer. What's happening is the following thing. The stage is being pulled down by gravity, just like this. And that's caused by the fact that the tension on the coarse focusing is not tight enough. So we have to tighten tension on the coarse focusing. It's done with this little screw, the little wrench with crescent-shaped ends. And if you look at the axis of the coarse focusing, you will find one part is slightly thicker and you see little holes in there. This wrench will grab hold of one of those little holes and you can just tighten axis just like that, and now the tension, you can feel it as well, the tension is tighter and there's less chance that the stage is being pulled down by gravity and therefore you won't lose your focus anymore.